just after 6 o'clock. I appreciate you guys for being patient with me, running about 10 minutes behind. It's the 8th of January. Welcome inside the channel. It's brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group, ZipRecruiter as well. We're going to dive right in, guys. First and foremost, obviously, this was announced earlier today. Just in case you missed it, Steve Bisciotti and Eric DaCosta will they're going to conduct a press conference. And in the setting that will be Owings Mills, it'll be the first time since 2018 that the Ravens owner is in that kind of formatting and setting. And then Eric DaCosta will be alongside him. So I get the sense this is going to be a very gradual, drawn-out process. This ongoing search that really kickstarted earlier this week when John Harbaugh was dismissed. And you take a look at, as Jeff Zaribek notes, it's the Ravens scorecard. That's really what it's become. It's become a carousel of candidates. And joining me right now for a Washington Commanders perspective is Kevin Sheehan, because we're going to talk specifically about the newest candidate since the last time we were live earlier this afternoon, and that is former Arizona Cardinals head coach, former Commanders play caller up until earlier this week, and that is Kliff Kingsbury. So if you're familiar with the DC sports market, you know him well. I've known him for a long time. He's a friend of mine. Kevin, great to see you, brother. How are you?
Bobby, good to be with you. You guys have had it this week. Usually you're preparing for a playoff game. This is what we're used to. We're used to, Black Monday and then what follows. It's a longer week than getting ready for a playoff game.
No shit. I mean, and far cry from a year ago. Commanders are making a deep run. The Ravens are getting ready for a wild card playoff game at home against Pittsburgh. And now here we are. Ravens are searching for their next head coach. And you guys, obviously, I'm sure, are taking a close look at this morning's news, being that Mike McDaniel was relieved of his duties. Guys, the 10 to 1 o'clock slot is when you can listen to Kevin on the Team 980 in DC. That's the team980.com. And the Kevin Sheehan Show can be found across all platforms as well. So let's get that out of the way before we dive in. Kliff, way ahead of schedule in year one a year ago with Jaden Daniels, who came in and took the league by storm. Obviously, injuries were a part of what was a disappointing season that they did not contend for the playoffs. So just for starters, what is the explanation to describe in an elevator pitch, I guess, what went wrong for them offensively this year?
Well, injuries. They didn't have their starting quarterback this year. He played in basically 3 games out of 17, start to finish, completely healthy. Played in 4 games, start to finish in total, and participated in 7 of the 17. So when you lose your starting quarterback, and that starting quarterback is coming off the greatest rookie season in the history of the league, and he doesn't play, you're doomed from the start. And then they lost running back 1, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. They were without their starting guard, Sam Cosmi, who has been a Pro Bowler for the first 6 weeks of the season. The team was absolutely decimated with injuries, both sides of the ball. It was carnage, really all season long. And that's the biggest explanation for 5-12. What's interesting, Bobby, is that the offense, without its starting quarterback, and then playing backup, and then the third stringer for 2.5 games, Josh Johnson finished up the season. They actually finished pretty high in a lot of offensive categories. 4th in red zone offense in the entire league. 4th without their, key players, especially at the skill position spots. They were the 4th leading rushing team. They were 12th in yards per play. They were basically top half of the league, worst case, in every advanced or traditional statistical category. I personally think Kliff got so much more out of less this year. In some ways, this year was more impressive than last year, because last year he had Jaden Daniels healthy for not just, 17 regular season, but 3 playoff games, so 20 in total. And the quarterback was sensational. I think whoever gets Kliff Kingsbury is getting a really good offensive mind. I really do.
And at the head coach position, being that this would be, I guess this is such a demeaning word to use, but you keep hearing it, especially from a Ravens perspective, because they're shooting high, at least the fan base is, in terms of this is the 4th head coach in 30 years, right, that they're looking for. So the word retread is what's been used within the fan base, whether it's about Vance Joseph, whose first stint in Denver didn't work out, right? Matt Nagy in Chicago, Kliff in Arizona. what would your response to be to someone that immediately sees this and almost writes them off in a sense before truly understanding the nuance of what you just gave? You take the record out of play. You understand that not having QB1 changes some things. And as you just gave, needed context that makes him maybe more intriguing than just writing him off and turning a blind eye and saying he's a retread. Why should he be looked at as more?
Well, first of all, Andy Reid was a retread hire. Bill Belichick was a retread hire at one point. So was Pete Carroll at one point. We went through this last year. That's why those names immediately come to mind, because when Quinn got hired, it was a retread hire. And apparently there's a very negative connotation with fans when it comes to that. And the truth is the majority of retread hires are more successful in their second or third go around than their first and sometimes second go around. Yeah, remember this about Kliff. Like your viewers might be saying, well, then why did Dan Quinn move on from him if he got so much more out of less? I think it was just his style and his system. You know, they're the least amount of under-centered quarterbacking in the league. It was also because Jaden and even Marcus Mariota, the backup, just more comfortable in shotgun and in pistol, but the least amount of under center, the absolute one of one when it comes to hurry up, no huddle. Now their pace of play was middle of the pack, but no huddle, they led the league by far. And I think Quinn this year saw the style as not what's happening right now. It's the Shanahan style offenses. It's the more under-centered teams that are having great success this year. Now, I point to last year and I say 3 of the final 4 teams just last year, Kansas City, Washington, and Philadelphia, were among the lowest under-centered teams in the league, and they were in the final 4 last year. So sometimes that's just a cyclical thing. But Quinn, I think, remember, in Atlanta, when he was a head coach, Kyle Shanahan was his offensive coordinator in 2016 when they went to a Super Bowl. Mike McDaniel was on that staff. So he's very familiar with that style. I think that's what he wants. And while Kliff is outstanding at what he does and how he does it, it just wasn't necessarily Quinn's preference.
Okay. Now, you mentioned, obviously, when you juxtapose this year, doing more with less, if you will, being more impressive in your mind, having watched both seasons. What went really well for them to way overachieve in year one with Jaden Daniels? Like, what allowed them to be one of the top offenses in the league that year?
Jaden Daniels, Bobby, yeah. He was just incredible. I mean, when the season ended, there was no other way to describe the season than to say this guy's a top 5, top 6 elite level quarterback. That's the season he had. Last year, legitimately, if Josh Allen doesn't have the year he had, if Lamar Jackson didn't have the year he had, Jaden Daniels would have been like what Drake May is this year, very much in the, center of the MVP conversation. That's how great he was. I mean, the level of play, the level of creativity off schedule, and then within this, on schedule. I mean, he was just as good on schedule from the pocket as he was off schedule out of the pocket. Just lethal as a runner last year, lethal as a downfield thrower. And everything seemed to go their way last year. They were healthy. They got every kind of break schedule-wise. I mean, they played one backup quarterback after another last year. This year, they faced one tough defensive team and one really good quarterback after another. They had a stretch there where they faced Dallas's offense, Kansas City when they were healthy, Detroit and Seattle all in a row. And it hit at the time that they got buried by the most injuries as well. And that was the end of the season.
When you think about his relationships, his vast network, who would he pair well with in terms of staffing?
Kliff?
Yeah.
In terms of staffing, first of all, like if he were to end up in Baltimore, he's a good fit, I think, for Lamar Jackson. I think offensively, that's a good pairing. Some of the other places they've been talking about him, Tennessee, Cleveland, like he'll bring Marcus Mariota with him if he ends up in Cleveland. Marcus Mariota isn't maybe a full-time, high-level 17-game starter, but it would be a major upgrade over Shadur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel with that defense. I was thinking about if Mariota had been in Cleveland this year with Kingsbury or even Stefanski, they would have been a 9-8 team with that defense. Not what they ended up being. But in terms of people that he'd want to bring with him, Marcus Mariota is number one. Mariota's in love with Kingsbury, as is Jaden. And then from the room, David Blau's the star, other than Kingsbury, in the Washington's offensive room. He played quarterback in Detroit, was with Ben Johnson. Washington hired him, and everybody's been talking about him since they hired him last year as the next thing as an OC. I think Washington, if they don't get Mike McDaniel, I think Blau's a really good possibility to be the next OC here. But if he didn't get an OC job, he'd probably be a guy that might go with Kliff.
All right, I'll get you out of here on this one because for whatever reason, he rubs some folks in the live chat the wrong way in terms of the personality type.
Oh, man.
Your thoughts on that? Was he humbled after the dismissal in Arizona? What is it?
Yeah, Kliff is first rate. I don't know where you talk to anybody, even last year when they hired him, and that I've got a bunch of my very best friends are very much involved in college football, ESPN and other places, and they're like, you guys are going to love Kliff. Kliff is a straight shooter. And look, every quarterback, right? Mahomes, Baker, all of them just fall in love with Kliff. He's a good teacher. He's a good coach. He's a great dude. He's got that Texas thing going on, kind of laid back, but first one in the building at 4:30 a.m., the last to leave. He really fit Jaden very well because Jaden is a workaholic, a gym rat too. Now, as a head coach, that's a different conversation. The experience in Arizona wasn't great, but he's also not the air raid guy that people thought he was coming out of college. You can't even really actually run the air raid at the NFL level with the hash marks and with some of the rules with downfield linemen. But I liked Kliff. I think if they get Mike McDaniel, we'll forget quickly about Kliff. But he's a good offensive guy for sure and a really good quarterback guy.
Okay. Where does that shit come from, right? It almost takes on a life of its own, doesn't it? It's just amazing.
I think the Arizona thing was, and the truth is there were a couple of years there where they were very good offensively, and then they lost DeAndre Hopkins. They lost Kyler Murray. And Murray is not Jaden Daniels, stylistically, and then from kind of a gym rat standpoint. That's why they had to put into his contract, a certain amount of film time at home. Kliff did not have that issue at all with Jaden.
All right. That's good perspective. At Kevin Sheehan, DC is where you can be found on X. Again, 10 to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday at the Team 980. And those of you that are DC sports fans, Maryland fans, Kevin well. And again, the Kevin Sheehan Show is where you can be found across all platforms in the audio space. Appreciate you coming back around, my man, and look forward to doing it again down the road.
Anytime, Bobby. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. Kevin Sheehan, guys, thanks to him for his time today. We're talking about Kliff Kingsbury, who is one of a slew of candidates that the Ravens are at least looking at initially to begin their search for just the fourth head coach in the history of this franchise. Let's reset some things. I appreciate you guys for being with me tonight, just after 6 o'clock. And my, oh my, what a week it's been in Baltimore. Again, to be clear, just in case you've been living under a rock, January 13th on Tuesday, that's next Tuesday at 2 o'clock, Steve Bisciotti and Eric DaCosta will sit down and conduct a press conference. And local media will have a chance to ask the pressing questions that are out there, of course, regarding the future of the franchise and where this team is heading from this point forward, as again, they begin a very, very wide search that already has 8, 9, 10 names. We'll get to that in just a bit. Jamila, welcome to Trosseteer channel membership. Appreciate you for being here. Thanks for the support. LSC 758 says, Bobby, you've done a great job by yourself all of this week. Thank you for all of your hard work and time. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that, LSC. Looking forward to having Sarah back next week. Nick Marty writes, Bobby Billy Ripken, you meaning Ryan, just had Todd Monken on. Gives me whoever Lamar will vibe with and a strong defensive coordinator. Yeah, I've seen that. Great get by those guys. I'm hoping to have Todd on as well at some point, being that he's technically no longer with the organization, seeing as how John Harbaugh isn't there. But I believe that interview was conducted from his office. So still perhaps in the building at one winning drive. Great get from the boys. I'm sure that was a great interview. But yeah, Billy is his uncle. All right, here's the search as what you see on the screen. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different candidates, as Jeff puts it. Broncos quarterbacks coach / pass game coordinator Davis Webb. The Ravens actually just announced that they've interviewed him, as Jeff notes here. Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph was the first interview to be completed. And of course, you want to get the Broncos out of the way early because they're in their bye. There are rules attached as you go longer and longer for candidates that are in the postseason. And let me just make sure that Brandon Stokely, who was scheduled to come on, I think he's dealing with some connectivity issues right now. Former Ravens Super Bowl champ hasn't texted me, and that's not the case. So hopefully we'll get him on at some point here soon. So those are your 2 completed interviews thus far. I'll have some slides on those candidates and their candidacy in just a second. Requests that are out there, the new ones as of today are Robert Saleh and Kliff Kingsbury, who we just got off the phone chatting about with Kevin Sheehan. Great perspective on the DC side of things. Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, Chiefs play caller on the offensive side of the ball Matt Nagy, and Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores, who we had a great chat on earlier today, Matthew Collar, and I actually wanted to share his thoughts at the end of the interview. This was inside the vault earlier this afternoon when I asked him this point blank. As an NFL owner, give Brian another chance at the head coach position.
I think for the Baltimore Ravens specifically, and I'll tell you why I like this idea. For the Ravens specifically, I would. Number one is that they have not had the defense that they had during some of their best and most dominant seasons. And he is not only just a great schematic mind, but also his roots are in scouting. And he has really brought that to fruition in Minnesota with his ability to identify talent, put players together, go out into free agency, bring in an Andrew Van Ginkel, who, I think the world didn't even know who that was, and now is a superstar in the NFL. We've seen, players develop like Josh Metellus, Jalen Redmond, who, again, no one ever heard of, that are now key players that are getting extensions and things like that. I think that's a big deal for Baltimore. The other thing is, too, you mentioned urgency. I think when you're looking for urgency with your quarterback situation to win right this second, that taking the risk that Brian Flores' culture would ultimately maybe devolve at some point might be worth it. Now, again, I think that he can grow. I think he's learned a lot from all those things about how to manage. But even if that is a mark against him, turning it around super fast is really the main thing. This is not a Miami Dolphins situation where it's completely rebuilding an entire franchise. This is come in, get the absolute best out of this defense. Lamar Jackson's going to be Lamar Jackson, go win playoff games. That's what this is really about. And I think if that's what your aim is, that Brian Flores should be very, very high on the list.
I thought he made a really compelling case, Matthew Collar, earlier this afternoon on the Vault. He is the host of Purple Insider. He's a Vikings insider, a Vikings personality. And I think there's a lot to like about that case. The question becomes, and again, he's one of the many that they've requested interviews for. Minnesota's not in the postseason, so there aren't any restrictions in terms of conversations. And he has an expiring contract. And so now it's up to Steve Bisciotti, who made his hay in the staffing, recruiting, hiring business, to say, hey, is Brian Flores the right fit? and taking everything into consideration while doing so, meaning the lawsuit, what went right and what went wrong in Miami, just how successful he's been in turning around Minnesota's defense under Kevin O'Connell, his player development, his influence in free agency, his scouting background, which is something that Matthew commented on there, having come up through the ranks under Bill Belichick and spent a decade there and won multiple titles as part of that organization with the Patriots. And I trust Steve Bisciotti to do exactly that because that's who he is. Kobe writes, we need to get Flores or Saleh and pair them with Mike McDaniel. Pay Mike like a low-end head coach, and you can get him to pass on bad head coaching jobs. Zayad writes, daily donation for B-Flow. Love Monk and his personality. He's a straight shooter, isn't he? Always has been. Always will be. The guest lines are open, by the way. The Ravens coaching carousel has reached 8. Davis Webb, Vance Joseph, 2 completed interviews on staff under Sean Payton in Denver. They'll enjoy their bye week and then await who they'll be hosting as the 1 seed in the AFC playoff picture. Robert Saleh became a candidate today when the Ravens submitted an interview request. Clint Kubiak, we've known about that for a day or so. Kliff Kingsbury, a new name as of this afternoon. Anthony Weaver, we've known. Matt Nagy, Kansas City, we've known. And Brian Flores, we've known that. That's 8 candidates. Let's start with a couple that have already been complete. And that's confirmed by the Ravens. The first tweet was confirming that Vance Joseph, Dolphins defensive coordinator, has completed his interview in Baltimore. He's 53 years old, a former defensive back. He was undrafted out of Colorado in 1995 and had a playing history that began in 95 when the Jets gave him an opportunity. Played for a few years in the league, a couple other non-NFL leagues as well, and then began his coaching career as a grad assistant at his alma mater, Colorado. He does have previous head coach experience. It did not work out in his favor the first time around in Denver, which was 2017 and 2018, where he went 11 and 21 over those 2 years. But under Sean Payton, this Broncos defense has been among the league's best the last couple of years and just exceptional at getting to the quarterback. And take a look this season. Fewest points allowed. Of course, Seattle leads the way, just to twist the knife for you guys that wanted Mike McDonald several years ago. But coming in third at the best scoring defense league-wide are his Denver Broncos, 311. Just Seattle and Houston beat them in that category. Vance has previous defensive play calling experience with the Arizona Cardinals, the Miami Dolphins. He was a DB's coach in Cincinnati, in Houston, in San Francisco, and Bowling Green, again, after beginning his coaching career at his alma mater, Colorado, in Boulder. So, look, is this the sexy hire? Certainly not. Are they just getting it out of the way immediately because of the fact that Denver has the bye and that you need to take advantage of the staff members that haven't begun postseason yet? Is this just a part of casting a wide net and making sure that you do your due diligence and have as many conversations as possible? I don't know. But I do know that his defense has been flying around and have been a bunch of the reasons as to why Denver has won a lot of games since Sean Payton showed up a few years ago. Also on that staff, not on the defensive side of the ball, but on the offensive side of the ball, under Sean Payton, is former NFL quarterback Davis Webb. He is the offensive pass game coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Seems to have tremendous rapport with Bo Nix. He was promoted to pass game coordinator this season after his first 2 years as QB's coach. Retired early. He's 30 years old. For God's sakes, I'm older than him by a few months. He turns 31 on the 22nd of this month. This is insane. He played for the Giants, Jets, Bills, and Giants again from 2017 to 2022. He was a third-round pick out of California, began his career at Texas Tech. And this is one of those dudes that maybe he's on his like Kellen Moore trajectory. Now, Kellen's a few years older. He's in his late 30s, but he just finished his first year as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints and had Tyler Shuck playing pretty darn well towards the end there. It sounds like they found their guy for future years. But Davis Webb is 30 years old. It's insane. And the Ravens have completed an interview with him, I would guess, via Zoom today. He played under Kliff Kingsbury at Texas Tech in the air raid, had an entire NFL career, as I've just noted, and as Pete Schrager noted as well. He's been at Sean Payton's hip the last 3 seasons. And despite his young age, he's lived a football life. Guys, John Jenkins just was signed to an extension, Ravens nose tackle. He's 36 years old. It's like Lamar Jackson just turned 29. You're right, yesterday, Troy. Think about that. Pretty wild. Look, this happens every year with these up-and-coming young, in this case, offensive minds. You get a look at them. You familiarize yourself with them. Who knows? You end up hiring an offensive-minded head coach. If it ends up being Kliff Kingsbury, maybe there's ties there. Maybe there's a relationship there. Maybe he ends up coming with that program and joining it, finding his way into the offense and being groomed to be a future head coach. Because if he's on this type of track record, on this type of trajectory, I think it's pretty clear. Sooner than later, he's going to get his opportunity. Probably not this hiring cycle. At 30 years old, that's tough. But this is how it works in the National Football League. So good for him, man. Quick pause to tell you about ZipRecruiter. I want to say thanks to ZipRecruiter for the continued support of both channels, Inside the Vault and here for my Trosseteers. And guys, if you're hiring for your company, it's a busy time of year. The calendar flipped. We've all got new goals in 2026, and that means finding the right people to accomplish them. You've also got new hiring challenges for 2026, like filling specialized roles or identifying qualified candidates from a huge pool of applicants. Lucky for you, there's a place that you can go to help you conquer these challenges and achieve your hiring goals, and that is ZipRecruiter. Right now, you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/audio. That's /audio. And you can see via the screen share tool what that URL looks like, where it will take you. You can kind of toggle through and learn more about what they have going on right now. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. I'm just scrolling with you. It'll give you a tutorial in terms of how things work as well. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. You can see for yourself and try ZipRecruiter for free today by visiting ziprecruiter.com/audio. Again, that's ziprecruiter.com/audio. We have it linked for you in the show notes. You can create a free account today. It's the smartest way to hire. I appreciate them for hopping on board to support the program in what's become a very, very busy month of January for a non-postseason team. Joe Jenkins writes, I'm so excited you are using the Trosseteers label. I coined it on Monday's show. Yes, you did. I've heard you say it ever since I said it in a super chat because I love it that much, Joe. I love it that much. Mike McCarthy's getting some looks from around the league. I wonder if the Ravens would consider giving Mike McCarthy a shot. He's a free agent. And I wonder if the Ravens would at least, as they continue to cast a wide net, at least give him a look. Compensatory Prick says, Bisciotti, this is a new one. This is a new YouTube user. I find it funny. Compensatory Prick says Bisciotti should hold off on making any decisions until the conference championships. Franchises sometimes make wild decisions after high-stakes losses. Yeah, look, I said this earlier today, and I'll say it again, compensatory. I'm getting the sense that this is going to be a very thorough, they're acting urgently, but they're not going to act ahead of their skis. They're not going to act in a rushed state. They're going to do this right. They're going to do this thoroughly. They're going to cast a wide net. It was just a few years ago where they interviewed 14 different candidates, 21 different interviews before choosing Todd Monken from Georgia. And it certainly was the right decision when you look back. And again, knowing that they have an interview as far out as Monday scheduled with Anthony Weaver, and knowing that DaCosta and Bisciotti meet with the media on Tuesday to conduct a press conference, I think it's an assumption, but I think it's an educated assumption and an educated guess to assume that this is going to be a multi-week type of process, particularly if they're zeroing in on a candidate whose team is in the postseason right now, because you want to be respectful of that delicate balance. Joe writes, Harbs is going to be in Miami. The Ross family is tight with the Harbaughs. Plus, Harb's daughter is at USF for college, going to law school. Plus, McDaniel gets released a day later. We don't have to be the head cashier at Walmart to figure this out. I'm with you there, Joe. This is really interesting how it's playing out down in Miami. Remember, just a day ago, 2 days ago, it was believed that Mike McDaniel was part of the process, the search team, to find the Dolphins' next general manager after they let Chris Grier go, ironically, after the Ravens embarrassed them at home, just to then learn of Harbaugh's firing. Nobody clearly from the Miami side of things is making it known that there's a correlation between the two, but I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to assume that as soon as John Harbaugh became available, not only did he become the belle of the ball, but things change. Shit happens. Why wouldn't you go make sure you turn over every stone to ensure that you're exhausting all resources to bring in Harbaugh? Again, Dolphins owner Stephen Ross met with McDaniel this week to discuss the season, and they decided that he was going in a different direction. Rap sheet says, yes, there are a bunch of ties to the family. Stephen, by the way, is a Michigan grad, and we know that Jim Harbaugh won a national title there just a couple years ago. And I thought this was interesting from Jeff Darlington, ESPN reporter, gave some context into what ultimately led to Miami's decision. So Stephen Ross met with him on Tuesday. The outcome of the meeting left Ross very conflicted. He really likes Mike, loves his intelligence and offensive mind, as do I. But Tuesday's meeting resulted in some hard thoughts. Ross didn't feel like the results were there. And despite the end-of-year production, Ross simply wasn't comfortable moving forward with the, quote, status quo. Now for the elephant in the room. I'm told the Dolphins have not yet been in touch with John Harbaugh or anyone in his camp. And people close to the decision are adamant this decision to move away from McDaniel is independent of Harbaugh's availability. Yeah, right. I'm told the Dolphins will conduct the head coaching search after a GM is in place, which should be in the next few days. Yes, it could obviously lead to discussions with Harbaugh. And yes, one of the GM candidates, assistant GM under Joe Hortiz, longtime personnel guy in Baltimore, Chad Alexander, is very close to Harbaugh. But people close to the situation tell me this decision to fire Mike would have been made either way. They can say that all they want. I think we all know. And when a guy like John Harbaugh, despite some of his shortcomings since the Super Bowl in Baltimore, becomes available, you take it and run. Why do I bring all this up? Because if Mike McDaniel has passed on this hiring cycle from a head coach perspective, oh, how intriguing would he be as Todd Monken's successor to be paired up with? You already know who I'm going to mention, Robert Saleh. Bring me Robert Saleh as a head coach. Bring me Mike McDaniel as his play caller on the offensive side of things. We can have a bunch of conversations in terms of what might work defensively. Maybe you can poach Jim Schwartz from Cleveland. They're looking for a completely new staff of leadership, having let Kevin Stefanski go earlier this week. Would that not be intriguing? Come on now. That's the trio for me. Robert Saleh, Mike McDaniel, and Jim Schwartz. Run it up. As for Robert Saleh, who became the eighth candidate that the Ravens reportedly have interest in, Grant Cohn, who's going to be joining me in the coming days, San Francisco 49ers reporter, YouTuber, stud. Love him. Hang out with them at various events in the offseason, like the Super Bowl coming up next month in San Francisco. He's all things 49ers. So I asked him, I said, hey, can you give me a quick explanation outside of injuries for why San Francisco had defensive struggles this year? Right? Because they didn't rank great, but they're in the postseason and they had a slew of injuries, including Bosa and their rookie, Michael Williams. Okay. Twat. You call him a clown all you want. What's that make you, big dog? I think Q called you something yesterday. Should I repeat it? Maybe not, because I like you. Here's what Grant told me via audio memo.
Okay, let me try this again. I think it's working out. So the Niners defense actually was pretty good early on in the year when they had Bosa and Michael Williams and like a pass rush. But then Bosa got hurt, Michael Williams got hurt. Now they have the worst pass rush in the league. Like, that's not an overstatement. It just sucks. And most defensive coordinators would be like, all right, I'm a blitz. But Saleh doesn't do that. He doesn't really care. He does care about pass rush if he can get it with four guys, but he's all about not giving up explosive plays. Heading into last week, the Niners were like tied for third in fewest explosive plays given up. That's like passes of more than 20 yards and runs of more than 10 yards. So it's like he just wants to have a bend but don't break defense with this personnel. When he has dudes, he coaches differently. But you couldn't name the best player on the Niners defense. Like, it's maybe Deommodore Lenoir, maybe, who's not having a good year. So he just doesn't want to let you score quickly because the Niners offense can often score quickly. So if he can slow you down, the Niners can a lot of times just outscore you. But that shit didn't work against the Seahawks, man. The stupidest, dumbest game plan against Sam Darnold. He let that team run all over the Niners, hold the ball for 40 minutes, never really forced Darnold to do anything difficult. That was dumb. So that's what Robert Saleh's been doing this year.
Okay, not without his flaws. And again, tough to evaluate given the injuries that they had. And by the way, he was wrong on one thing. They don't have the worst pass rush unit in the league. I think we know who does. So look, Robert, this would be a second time through if he were to be given an opportunity to be a head coach. It did not work out well for him overall in New York. Had great defenses with the Jets. The record would say otherwise, 20-36 over a 4-year span. It was from 21 to 24. He then spent 2024 as an offensive consultant for LaFleur in Green Bay. And then Shanahan brought him in to be his defensive play caller this year in San Francisco. Prior to that, of course, he was already the DC in San Francisco from 17 to 20. Had a lot of success throughout that span, which ultimately made him a really attractive candidate to all the different head coaches. He was the linebackers coach in Jacksonville for a few years, defensive quality control coach in Seattle. He's got a ton of experience at both the college and pro level, and he absolutely will have a lot of interest this hiring cycle as he gets ready for the postseason. Interview requests have come in, according to Schefter, from Atlanta, Arizona, Tennessee, and then as of earlier today, Baltimore. So Robert Saleh, an 8th name to be added to the Ravens coach carousel, if you will. So that's what's going on. Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. If you could like the video on your way in, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership this offseason. Not one caller so far. I'd love to open up the guest lines. The waiting room is wide open, though. Bare bones. I want to know from you guys, and we'll get an update in the poll. Name your staff. I've told you mine. I'm really intrigued by the chance to give a second chance to Robert Saleh as a head coach, Mike McDaniel as a play caller, and perhaps somebody like Jim Schwartz, assuming that Saleh wouldn't want to call the plays, which maybe he would as the head coach on the defensive side of the ball. Give me your thoughts. The poll that I put up earlier gave you 3 names. Who intrigues you the most as the next head coach in Baltimore? Brian Flores leads the list at 44%. Clint Kubiak at 34%. Robert Saleh at 9%. And 12% of you say other. So who is it? Call in. Let me know who it is. Mike McCarthy getting interest from Tennessee. The Titans are going to bring in the former Cowboys head coach and Packers head coach and a Super Bowl champion, and Mike McCarthy. That'll be interesting. But in the meantime, I was listening to Diana Rossini's YouTube channel last night, and I feel like we've heard the last. We have not heard the last, by the way, of what led to the demise of John Harbaugh in Baltimore. But I get the sense, based on listening to what I did last night from Diana, that she's working on a new story with probably a lot of nitty-gritty details that we've yet to be privy to. So buckle up for that. But as far as Lamar's concerned, I thought this was some good insight into the way that he's revered in that Ravens locker room. Diana Rossini, the Athletics NFL insider. This is courtesy of her new show, Scoop City, on YouTube.
It's really hard to find someone that does not love Lamar Jackson in that locker room. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of his habits have been discussed publicly about, like, and if you haven't heard before, there are some people who don't believe that he cares for himself the way we've heard about, like, a Tom Brady before, you know, and the way we've seen in a lot of those quarterback documentaries that Netflix did, where you see Kirk Cousins grinding and going through all these different things to stay young and stay fit. And from what I understand, like, Lamar definitely is not one of these, like, I must take care of everything and my health kind of people. He's a natural athlete. But in terms of his focus for the game, there's a lot of things that he does and a lot of things that he says quietly to lead that locker room, to make them know, like, look, this is how things go. James, you've been in the Chiefs locker room before, and, like, Patrick has got the best grip of any quarterback currently, probably, of any locker room, right? Like,
that's true.
Patrick's not walking around talking to every player. He doesn't do that. He doesn't have to do that anymore, right? It's like, he's Patrick Mahomes, and he leads by example, and you just respect what he does, and you do, and you stay in line because he's Patrick Mahomes. Lamar's a little bit more interactive with guys. He hangs out, he talks. There's, like, couches in the middle of the Ravens locker room. Like, he's been seen there tons of time talking to rookies. Like, he's really involved with his teammates and likes them, and they like him. And I think a lot of the problems this year really stem from some differences between him, how he wanted the offense to be with Todd Monken. It's not like Todd isn't like this super player coach. He's really bright and really smart with offenses. And I think there may have been a little rub there that it wasn't all coming together the way they wanted it to come together on offense specifically.
So you heard the beginning part of that, right? Listen to the beginning part of it once more.
It's really hard to find someone that does not love Lamar Jackson in that locker room.
Bang. It's really hard to find someone that does not love Lamar Jackson in that locker room. There you have it. Now, with that said, she did acknowledge what many have acknowledged, the disconnect between Lamar and Todd. Now, Lamar Jackson Entertainment, that Twitter account's going on a PR run right now to knock down a lot of that. Not providing any context in terms of why those reports are false, but certainly doing everything within their power, whoever's running that account, perhaps Lamar himself, to make sure that those rumors are dispelled. But there's a lot out there, a lot of smoke out there. And until I see some, legitimate concrete reporting or commentary for why that wasn't the case. And Todd talked about it, I believe, as some of you were mentioning in the live chat a short while ago, that, look, it's on everybody. When you fall short, given the talented roster that they had this year, it's on everybody. And one thing that you're always going to get from Todd Monken, not only is he a refreshing level of, he's just so real. Holds himself accountable, holds players accountable, holds everybody accountable. I love that about him. King Lando's become a new channel member. Appreciate you, King. Welcome to official Trosseteer status. Gordon, we're going to come to you in just a second, my brother. This is not just any Gordon either. I know who's down in the waiting room. Nikita says, just showing love. You're putting in a lot of work, brother. Nikita, I appreciate you. It's been a hell of a week. It's Thursday right now. I should be at the cigar bar. Not a chance in hell I'm going to be there anytime soon, though, given this news cycle. I can't even get up and go find a place, get a sandwich. Jesus. To the guest lines we go. You're going to enjoy this one. Because Mr. Rugg himself. What's up, Gordon? Good to see you, brother.
What's going on, Bobby? How's everything?
How you doing, man? It's what a surprise. I'm glad you called in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Look, hopefully you can see what's in the background. I can't really see. It's like so small on this phone for some reason. But yeah, Saquon. I'll be in Philly on Sunday, giving them this. So I'm excited for that.
Dude, congratulations, man. You have we had you on, gosh, I think it was during the postseason, maybe last year, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh my goodness, for the Bills game. I remember that.
Okay. That's what it was. Yeah. And of course we did a giveaway. We had a bunch of fun that day.
Yes.
So you are hand delivering this to Saquon in Philly.
Yes. I'm not sure if you saw the one I did for Shador. I was at that game. They asked me to make one for Shador, and ever since then, teams been calling left or right. Got this one coming up, and then hopefully divisional round. We'll see who's going to call. Got some things in the works, but teams have to win first. So yeah, we'll see.
That is so dope, man. Congratulations on your rise. I love it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. But man,
hey, you licking your wounds about the way this season ended. Doesn't it feel like an afterthought now that like this hiring cycle?
It really does. Like I look, watching Luke miss that kick, it was like, you know, all the excitement was there, likely made the catch. And I was like, man, if he makes this, you know, it's going to be a lot of changes for the Steelers and the Ravens. And it just happened the fact that we were the ones that missed the kick. And, you know, that is what happened with Harbaugh. That was a very huge kick. And, you know, I was sad at the moment, but I guess it all makes a perfect sense for now. And if, you know, like I'm kind of in a good way right now with Baltimore sports. We got a new GM with Albie and the Orioles, and hopefully we'll see who our new coach is for the Ravens. So I'm excited.
I think that's a pretty good perspective, because for them to have lost the way they did in such excruciating fashion, back to back years, you can go back to back if you want to talk about Snoop's goal line issue there in Cincinnati. But it's crazy. You would have thought that it was months ago, given what you see on the screen right now. 8 candidates right now have at least received initial inquiries, or if you're the Denver assistants under Sean Payton, his defensive coordinator, his pass game coordinator, 2 legitimate interviews have been conducted so far. So let everybody know. If you kind of sink your teeth into this process, do you have an early favorite?
Look, I want Brian Flores. I want Brian Flores. Him, and then either Kliff Kingsbury or now Mike McDaniel. He got fired, so let go or mutually parted ways. I want him as the OC, or Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh, I feel like would be a good, like you were just talking about. I feel like he would fit perfect with this team. Like, I don't know. There are some good candidates out there, and a lot of people fail to realize when we got our head coach with John Harbaugh, he was a special teams coordinator. You know, it's not like he was like, well, I was only, how old was I? I was only like 9 at the time when he got the job, but I'm pretty sure a special teams coordinator wasn't one of the hottest names out there, you know? So like whoever we get with this team and who we are, and like the Ravens, I feel like we'll be good. I trust Bisciotti, and I trust this organization to get this job done. And, you know, whoever it is, I'll be there every Sunday rooting them, the OTAs, watching, tuning into your videos, listening to, you know, your thoughts and everything, and the scoops of the Ravens. So look, whatever it is, I trust them. I really do trust them. And I felt like it needed to happen. Like I kind of think the same thing with the Orioles, with us letting go of Hyde. Like, these coaches, we have really good coaches, but I just think it was just time to really, you know, change. Like, all the heartbreak in Baltimore, being an Orioles fan, being a Ravens fan, like it hurts. And I just think it's time for something new, you know. Like, I was talking to one of my buddies about the Ravens and like all the heartbreak that we've had. I was like, if you're a Bears fan, how many double doinks have you seen in your lifetime? Like, the double doink was how many years ago? I can name on 2 hands multiple times the Ravens and had a double doink, missed 2-point field, dropped in your hands, goal line 2 times, getting punched out. Like, the Ravens have a lot of heartbreak. And this, I feel like this will change it. The culture and everything will just change. And, I'm really excited to where Baltimore in general, like Baltimore sports are right now. So I'm happy.
Yeah, we've been talking about it all week long, Gordon. First of all, that's like super level-headed analysis. Like two things can be true. You can celebrate and forever fondly remember and appreciate John Harbaugh for what he brought, like the level of stability, success. Not enough, obviously, postseason success since the Super Bowl run over 10 years ago. But all that can be true while also understanding that maybe things had run its course and maybe someone else deserves a chance to take Lamar Jackson to the level that he hasn't been able to reach while in his prime. And he just turned 29 yesterday. And while the hope is somebody that has been able to adapt, right, and be much more than just the dual threat quarterback or the electric runner that we've always known him to be, like maybe he can do this for another 10 years. And who's going to be the guy that can spend another decade plus in Baltimore? It's a weighty decision. And if there's somebody that's capable of making it, it's Steve Bisciotti. This is what he made his hay on. This is how he built his empire. Hiring, staffing, evaluating. And now he and DaCosta and Sashi Brown and Ozzie, man, there are already 8 candidates in. We're not even 48 hours into this whole process.
I know.
So I'm getting the sense, Gordon, it's going to be a very drawn out, gradual, thorough process that could probably span weeks, I would think.
Yeah. And look, like I said, I really do trust this organization, and I don't feel like the Ravens will make I feel like there is no wrong decisions when you have 8 on your team. Obviously there are wrong decisions, obviously, but I'm saying like this team, the way that we're structured, I feel like if you obviously these guys out there, Robert Saleh, Flores, McDaniel, like there's guys out here that can, steamroll this team and hopefully potentially get us over the hump, Like I really do. I'm really looking at this with an optimistic, mindset and view. Like I love everything that Harbaugh has done for us. I've seen him every Sunday, NFL Sunday, for the last 18 years of my life. He's a pillar in the community. He's a great person, great guy. And, it kind of hurts that he, is gone. I really wasn't expecting the Ravens to actually do it. But, we did it. And, that's the game. He wasn't going to be our coach forever. Time had to come. And, we're here and I'm excited. Like, this is a fun time. Like that missed field goal, it kind of is made up now that the fact that we're here, and so yeah.
Isn't that crazy? That's what's so funny about this entire thing. And it happens every year to fan bases that, go through what you guys have all experienced since Sunday night's kick went right. And then obviously since Tuesday when Steve Bisciotti made the decision that he did. So, dude, have a phenomenal time delivering this phenomenal rug that you see in the background here to Saquon, a hand delivered. And you already did Shador. My God, you've done some big-time athletes over the years. I'm pretty sure Steph Curry was one of them, wasn't he?
LeBron. Bronny James. Bronny James. Yep.
Oh, Bronny. Okay. Yep. Gotcha. Was that the biggest NBA name to date?
Yes, biggest name to date. And always, if anybody asks what's my favorite rug that I've done, always the Lamar one. That's my favorite one I've done, obviously because of everything. But yeah, like people ask, hey, if you could do one for your favorite athlete, who would it be? It already got off my list, Lamar. So,
well, what I'm going to do here too, because some people just may not be aware. Here's your IG right here. I'm going to drop this link into the chat. It's at thereal.112. Gordon, we worked together last postseason. Mike says he's going to order a rug, or Solodolo says he's going to order a rug right now. So you might be getting flooded.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Great surprise, man. It was great to hear from you. Happy New Year and best of luck in Philadelphia this weekend. All right.
Same to you. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.
Later, Gordon. Appreciate it. That's a great surprise right there from the man himself. And those rugs are legit, man. That is totally ballooned, snowballed for him. So go support him. You can find his Instagram. I just dropped it in the live chat at thereal.112. Gordon Cartnell. EB, you with me? If you are, turn that camera on, brother. Joe Jenkins says Loop is now Loop. Is it Lup? Loop? Loop? What's the pronunciation there? until the fans let it go. Hopefully fans have already let it go. He had a field goal percentage of 88% this year. Yeah, he was 1 for 4 from 50 plus. Yeah, he pushed 44 wide right when it was all said and done. Yeah, he struggled with the landing zone, and the kickoff. He had 8 kickoff penalties, which was an NFL worst. But he's a rookie, and he truly wasn't tested until literally the last second of the season. I thought he passed a lot of tests, and I look forward to him building his confidence back up. And I know the Ravens will be standing by him, I would think, unless something happened. You use a 6th-round pick, day 3 pick on him. I don't think you're just going to give up overnight. So hopefully fans have already kind of turned a page in terms of the new era of Ravens football that's arrived. But yeah, obviously has to fix from 50 or more. Obviously. EB, welcome to the program, brother. What's going on, dude?
What's happening?
How you doing?
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
We can see a whole lot of nothing besides you.
Oh, Lord mercy.
Talk to us, though. How you feeling? Where are you at with your candidacy? Everybody wants to know. You've spent the last several months using this guest call-in line to just rip Harbaugh. We want to know your candidacy. Come on, brother.
I got a couple candidacies. I actually got a couple combinations. So my first one is Brian Flores, Mike McDaniel, and Matt Burke is my defensive coordinator. My second combo is Clint Kupiak, Shula from LA, the offensive coordinator, and as far as the defensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver.
Okay.
And I think my last combination would be Anthony Weaver.
I see you really thought about this hard.
No, I've actually had my first two on point. I couldn't figure out my last combo, but Anthony Weaver, fuck it, what's his name? Vance Joseph.
I ain't even listening to you right now because we're getting Monken on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're booking that. I'm booking that at some point here. So anyway, while you stumble over your staff that you complained all month long, all season long, Harbaugh this, Harbaugh that.
Oh,
and now I ask you for your staff.
Oh, you in my bushes? Oh, you in my bushes right now?
You give me 2 staff members. I'm asking for a full staff. Let's go.
I gave you a full staff. So you can't hit. I'm already saying, so you must not be able to hear me 100%. I gave you like 2 teams. I just can't figure out my last team. But you know what? I'm gonna go off the wall. I'm gonna go off the wall with my last combination. Fuck it. Anthony Weaver as the head coach, Ray Lewis as the defensive coordinator, Ed Reed as the secondaries coach, and as far as the offensive coordinator, fuck it, let's keep monkeying.
You are unbelievable.
Let's run it back.
We will circle. We'll circle back. You crack me up. You really do. Appreciate you. Thank you. Jewel, what's up, brother?
Oh,
what the hell? What the EB? Can you believe that? You'd never do that to me. Julian gets on and just immediately look at this. Anyway, a final thought from you. A final thought from you, EB.
I'm just happy for the change. I mean, I was tired of Harbaugh. Nothing really. I mean, I've talked a lot of shit about Harbaugh, but nothing against him as a person. I was just tired of what the hell was going on, and it was just time for change. And whoever we get, I hope Bashotti does what he does best, far as vetting his new head coach, man. Because I be honest, I'm really feeling Brian Flores or Clint Kupiak. Now, as far as the offensive and defensive coordinators go, I'm really not 100% sure which combination would actually work. But for as an offensive coordinator, I am in favor of Mike McDaniels and his creativity. Now, my very last thought. His stint in Miami, I feel like he had the wrong quarterback, and I just feel like his scheme didn't mesh well with the offense. Now with Lamar and Derrick Henry, that may be a whole different story, but that's just my opinion.
Okay. All right, brother. Appreciate the call.
All right. No problem.
Keep getting after it out there. Keep doing you over there.
Always.
Guys, to be honest with you, I got some we got some leeway here, some developments with Monk. So meaning I think he's going to come on. So to be honest with you, waiting room, I think I got to go take a call here. All right. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to go put on my booking hat for the vault tomorrow and end this at 60 minutes unless something happens before the end of tonight. Okay. I want to go make sure this is booked. So I'm going to go hop on the phone with him right now and end the stream a little bit early. Okay. For the vault purposes tomorrow at 12 noon. All right. That's the plan. I'm going to give him a shot, say hello, and just in real time tell you what's going on because that's what's happening right now. Shimmy Boy says, Butta said he will be head coach. Great recruiter and willing to play OG, offensive guard and defensive line from time to time. Never been done. Man, all show long, the waiting room is empty, and now there's 6 people in there. Where you guys been, huh? Huh? Yeah, I'm looking at you, DeBruz, and Russell, and Gordon's back in, and EB, and Julian. Julian, we know what you were doing a minute ago. But gentlemen, unfortunately, I gotta go hop on the call and make sure this gets booked. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. And Mike's calling his shots now. Just let people host the stream. Yeah, Mike, I'm not done with you in the Discord yet, Mike, am I? Thanks for understanding. I'll be back either tonight or 12 noon tomorrow, and you won't want to miss it. Thanks to Preston Automotive Group. Thanks to ZipRecruiter. Thanks to all of you guys. Appreciate the love. Like the video on your way out. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership on your way out. And I owe every one of you in the waiting room right now, obviously, the opportunity to come back on the program. So we will take rain checks on that. I'll catch up with you guys soon and stay tuned for what we have coming up.